What's up? Okay, so I'm not gonna wait for anyone to join me because this was kind of unplanned and unexpected. So, I don't want to be waiting forever for my subscribers to come. And thank you for staying with me. Was it last month or a couple months ago? I mentioned that we wanted to dig into this whole fascinating womanhood and gold digging topic. And I really meant that. I wanted to go in with you guys because I know that money is funny. Especially when it comes to relationships. I know we all need it, we all want it. And so how do we get it as fascinating women? That's very important because it's common knowledge that finances is a leading cause of divorce. And so that's my whole point. It's when you're married. How do you deal with wanting more money? How do you deal with um, earning money as a fascinating woman? So someone's knocking at my door. Who is it? Okay, well, let me let you in because you're my Gabby. Let me let my Gabby in. Come on, Gabby. Gabby, come on. Let me see your face because your face is clean. You know when your mom used to lick her thumb, clean your face. Well, anyway, so let's talk about it a little bit. There's been more and more buzz on YouTube lately about gold digging. And you gonna let Zion in now? Okay, Zion's coming in too. Oh, see him? Look at him. Zion! Come on, 1-year-old. He's learning to walk. Hi. Okay. Well, what do you know? I opened right to it. The wife's budget. Family finances. The provider. Let's go over the provider role. I checked this out from the library. I do. This is public information. Okay. The provider. A man needs to function, feel needed, and excel women as a provider. Since the beginning of time, the man has been recognized as provider. The first commandment given him was, "In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread, till thou return unto the ground." This command was given not to the woman, but to the man. The woman was instructed to bring forth children. From this time forth, their duties have been thus divided. This arrangement has been honored by tradition, custom, and even courts of the law. Excuse me, let me clear my throat. Okay. In the event of divorce, men are still legally bound to pay alimony. Thus, they continue to earn the bread so the mother can nurture the children. This plan is important to live, however, not because of custom or law, but because it's God's command. So that's in the beginning of the chapter called "The Provider and Fascinating Womanhood." So what did we learn? That quickly we learned that it was the man's role to provide, and it was the woman's role to nurture and bring forth children. And it's because it was God's law. That's why we're going to stick with that, because that's God's law. And we all know that his laws work with nature, human nature. Okay. Another reason the man should provide, inborn in a man, is a keen sense of responsibility to provide the living, and to function effectively in this role. Being successful in this area of his life is as important to his feeling of worth as a woman's in succeeding as a mother and homemaker. As the man fulfills his masculine duty as the provider, it presents a tender, romantic scene, as in the following nursery rhyme. By baby bunting, daddy's gone a hunting, to get a little rabbit skin, to wrap his baby bunting in. Picture, if you can, a mother at home nurturing her little ones, making a comfortable home for her family. The father goes out into the world, struggling against the elements and oppositions of life to bring home the necessities and comforts for his loved ones. This romantic scene, instead of being taken for granted, should be viewed as the heart and core of life, which, when lived properly, brings soul satisfaction that cannot be measured. There is nothing to equal it and nothing more important. A man also has an inborn need to feel needed as a provider, to feel that his wife depends on him for financial support and can't get by without him. In addition, he has an inborn need to excel women as a provider. A man's feeling of worth can be undermined when he sees women in the workforce doing a better job than he, advancing to a higher position, or earning more pay. How much worse when his own wife excels him? What a man should provide. Let's go over that. An excellent description of what a man should provide is from my husband's book, Man of Steel and Velvet. That's Helen Anderlin's husband, late husband's book, A Man of Steel and Velvet. I actually ordered that offline and gave that to my dad as a birthday gift. I want it back because I don't believe he read it or looked into it much. I want that back because I want to look at it myself and give it to my son. So I'm going to talk to him about it. Alrighty, so what did her husband talk about? Here's a quote from his book. Simply state, the man should provide the necessities. This means food, clothing, and a shelter, plus a few comforts and conveniences. Through all generations of time, it has been recognized that when a man marries, his wife and children are entitled to his financial support. Failure to meet this obligation has been just cause for divorce, and even after the marriage separation, a man is still under financial obligation. Financial support and, along with this, fidelity have always been the two main entitlements for a woman in marriage. But whether these laws remain in force or not, the moral and sacred obligation is just as binding, the need just as great. It's important that a man provide a shelter separate from anyone else. This is important for the sake of privacy and giving the wife the opportunity of making a home in her own way. Perhaps this is why a special instruction was given by God in the very beginning. Therefore shall a man leave his father and mother and cleave unto his wife. Genesis 2:24. Under stress of circumstances, there may be occasions when a man must move his wife and children into another household. Although there may be justification temporarily, it's contrary to the divine plan and unfair to the wife if this situation extends beyond a brief emergency. Although a man has a sacred and binding obligation to provide the necessities, he is under no such obligation to provide the luxuries. Women and children are not entitled to ease and luxury, to style and elegance. His duty is not to provide a costly home, expensive furniture, and decor. Concerning the education of his children, he has an obligation to provide a basic education, but such a binding obligation doesn't extend to a higher education. Music lessons, the arts and cultures. Ooh, sounds like we're going to be getting in a little bit of hot water with that one. Okay. He may wish to provide these, and it may bring him much pleasure to do so, but it's not mandatory. In providing a high standard of living, some men make near economic slaves of themselves, with great disadvantage to themselves and their families. Too often, a man is so consumed with meeting ever increasing demands, not only by his family but by himself, that he does not preserve himself for things of greater value. He has little time to give to his wife and children, time to teach them the values of life, how to live, standards to follow, and time to build strong family ties. A man is also entitled to time for himself, for recreation, study, and meditation. He has a further need to be of service outside his own circle, a commitment to society. Church service is an important part of this, as is civic responsibility. Men have talents which need to be shared, ability which could be developed to make the world a better place. It is not right for a man to spend his entire time and energy to provide luxuries for his own family circle. His pressing responsibility to provide. A woman needs to understand with an all-comprehending sympathy what a man faces in earning the living. Pause for the pause. Chris, Gabby, stop doing that. Go ahead and put that down. My daughter's shaking all the sequins out of my little packets. Yes. And if someone's at the door, still have moves and go live. All right, Gabby, leave that alone. We can see you. Who is it? I said, who is it? Who is it? Okay, they can't answer me, then I don't want to talk to them anymore. What's up, Lala? Hey, Lala, don't eat that. Okay, get back to reading. His pressing responsibility to provide. An excellent description is found in Dr. Marie Robinson's book, The Power of Sexual Surrender, from which I quote, "The majority of men, when they come of age and marry, take on an enormous burden which they cannot lay down with any conscience this side of the grave. Quietly and without histrionics, Syria, they put aside in the name of love most of their vaunted freedom and contract to take upon their shoulders full social and economic responsibility for their wives and children. As a woman, consider for a moment how you would feel if your child should be deprived of the good things of life, proper housing, clothing, education. Consider how you would feel if he should go hungry. Perhaps such ideas have occurred to you and have given you a bad turn momentarily, but they are passing thoughts. A woman does not give them much credence. They are not her direct responsibility. Certainly, she does not worry about them for long. But such thoughts, conscious or unconscious, are her husband's daily fare. He knows, and he takes the car king thought to work with him each morning and every morning, and to bed with him at night, that upon the success or failure of his efforts rests the happiness, health, indeed the very lives of his wife and children. In the ultimate, he senses he alone must take full responsibility for them. I do not think it is possible to exaggerate how seriously men take this responsibility, how much they worry about it. Women, unless they are very close to their men, rarely know how heavily the burden weighs sometimes, for men talk about it very little. They do not want their loved ones to worry. Men have been shouldering their entire responsibility for their family group since earliest times. I often think, however, when I see the stresses and strains of today's marketplace, that civilized man has much harder going, psychologically speaking, than his primitive forefathers. In the first place, the competition creates a terrible strain on the individual male. The competition is not only for preferment and advancement, it is often for his very job itself. Every man knows that if he falters, lets up his ceaseless strife, he can and will be easily replaced. No level of employment is really free of this endless pressure. The executive must meet and exceed his last year's quota or the quota of his competitors. Those under him must see that he doesn't, and he scrutinizes their performance most severely and therefore constantly. Professional men, doctors, lawyers, professors, are under no less pressure for the most part. If the lawyer is self-employed, he must constantly seek new clients. If he works for an organization, he must exert himself endlessly to avoid being superseded by ambitious peers or by pushing young particles just out of law school. Yeah, they call them particles. Young particles just out of law school and fire with the raw energy of youth. A score of unhappy contingencies can ruin or seriously threaten a doctor's practice, not the least of which is a possible breakdown in his ability to practice. A teacher must work long hours or publishable projects outside of his arduous teaching assignments if he is to advance or even hold his ground. So there's no field or endeavor that a man may enter where he can count on completely economic safety. Competition, the need for unremitting, year in, year out performance. Hold on. Is his life's lot. Overall, this he knows too. Stands a separate specter upon which he can exert only the remotest control. My babe. She's nursing. I'm putting on my earrings. Don't snatch it out, man. Hold on, I gotta sneeze. It is the joblessness which may be caused by the cynical depression and recessions that characterize our economy. Do women who work feel the same pressure men do? Let's get into it. I'm reading this chapter because I found a fascinating womanhood, and I want us to talk about finances and marriage. So I'm reading you some chapters about finance out of this book, Fascinating Womanhood, because I want y'all to hear it. Some of you already read it and are going to read it, and so I just want to, you can listen to it and comment about it. We can talk about it a little bit more. We need to explore this topic because finances are very important in a relationship. So I think it's very important that we go ahead and those who haven't heard it can hear it from me while I'm reading. Excuse me. Okay. So, do women who work feel the same pressure men do? Women who work do not feel the same kind of pressure men do. This is because they have different orientation to the world of work. Whereas a man feels he cannot turn aside from his work with a clear conscience. And I think that's important. A woman doesn't feel this same sense of duty. She can resign her job at any time and for any reason without a feeling of guilt. Economic problems may result, but she won't have a lower opinion of herself or feel disgrace in the eyes of the public. Okay, she ain't gonna be bothered. On the other hand, if the able-bodied man were to stop working, it would injure his feeling of work and his image to the public. He and everyone else would consider him a failure if he were to neglect this important duty. A woman feels pressure, but of a different kind. A time pressure, which comes from living a double role. A man feels a binding moral pressure. How can, how you can help? This is a subheading on this. How you can help. So these thoughts cannot help but awaken your concern for your husband and motivate you to want to do something to help, to relieve his strain and make his life easier. You may even feel impelled to seek employment outside the home or assist him in his work. Noble as these Noble as these thoughts are, they are not the best solutions. Instead, do the following. And she has some suggestions in this chapter. 1. Reduce expenses. Okay. So, do everything you can to reduce expenses. So you are living well within your husband's income. And hopefully with some to spare for savings. When you do, you will greatly relieve his anxieties over money. Suggestions on doing this are given in the next chapter, family finances. And there are also great channels here on YouTube about reducing expenses and living within your husband's means, his income level. So we can chat about that also. Your favorite YouTube channels about living well on not such a expensive or high level budget. Okay. So let's read what else. 2. Reduce demands on his time. If your husband works long hours or gives himself devotedly to his work, when he comes home, he needs time to relax and recover. You may have to forego places you want to go or things you plan for him to do and adjust your life to his. Live your feminine role. Instead of helping your husband provide the income, provide a wonderful home life. Let him make the living, and you make life worth the living. Keep the home intact so it's running smoothly with all the daily needs met. Be feminine, cheerful, and do all you can to bring a peaceful spirit in the home. Such an atmosphere will relieve his anxieties and help him succeed as a provider. What was that noise? And then it also says, the fourth suggestion is live all fascinating womanhood. When your marriage is free of problems and you have a loving relationship, he can better withstand the stresses and strains of his work. And if not, if there is trouble in the marriage, it can greatly add to his burdens. And if you do all of these things, you will do far more than if you join him in the workforce. Now, I don't know if it's buzzing because I'm running out of time or what. I have a feeling that's what's going on. So, that was most of the chapter on the provider role for the man. It gets more into his drive for status as far as why he does what he does, why he seeks to make more money. And it also it's better to have 10% of 100% men than 100% of a 10% man. Zion, you okay? It's okay. Well, anyway, it gives a little bit more. In the family finances role. But let me know what you think about that first chapter reading. If you would like me to do more chapter readings, let me know. I know we have a huge responsibility as a wife to make to make his living stretch. And some women would rather throw in the towel of the whole marriage than to learn to make the budget stretch. They would like to throw the baby out with the bathwater. So tell me what you think. Again, thank you for watching this playback. And next time, I'll try to give you guys some warning if I'm going live. But love you. Be fascinating. Bye.